To discuss this and other issues, delighted to say that Ashok Kumar joins me, Associate Professor of Political Economy at Birkbeck University, specialising in labour relations. A very good evening to you. Thank you for joining me again.
Thanks, Patrick. Good to be with you.
What did you make of this conference? It wasn't the... it didn't seem to have that celebratory, we're in power, this is great feel about it, did it? Because already there have been some unpopular decisions that have been made.
Well, look, I think it's a very generous reading of it is that most people, when pointing to a conference like this over the last few years or even the last decade, will be able to point to some policies. There are no policies or new policies that were announced. Lots of platitudes, lots of slogans. The donation scandal, it was really mired in that. We can get into that in a minute. But also you had a number of protesters around the question of Gaza, which, you had the most independents ever breaking from the Labour Party around the question of Palestine and also the continued arming of Israel. And then also you had, it wasn't just the unions, Patrick, it was the unions that made the motion, Unite specifically, but the members voted against the leadership. And it's important to remember that in the Blair years, it took a best bet of half a decade before any of the policies of the Blair government was voted against by the membership, let alone of them coming into this massive victory. I mean, it was built on sand, but you know, the fact that that's a massive blow on one of their key policy positions getting voted down by a membership, which they have really shaped and circumscribed in their liking, right? They kicked out members that they didn't agree with on the left. They, stacked it in lots of different ways, in quite undemocratic ways. So I think it's really, I mean, if anybody's trying to present this Labour conference as anything as other than disastrous, I think it's kind of, I think it's delusional, because it was disastrous. Both what was happening outside the conference and what was happening on the conference floor. But
does Starmer clearly doesn't care? He's chosen this hill to die on, right? He has, for some inexplicable political reason or moral reason, that this is the most bizarre thing, that he has chosen that he is going to dig his heels in, and no matter what happens, he is not going to U-turn on these winter fuel payment cuts. And it is extraordinary when you see, I mean, they're all going, well, we didn't want this black hole. That's not going to wash for much longer, is it? When the black hole is getting deeper by all these union deals they're doing, most recently the RMT, who were told to keep it quiet.
Well, look, the unions is a different question, because actually, we can have a debate about this, but after many, many years, a lot of it is paying for what they've lost for many years. And also, if you even look at some of the deals that have happened with the NHS or happened in the train drivers, those are, 5% now, 5% tomorrow, 5% the year after, is making up for losses in pay. So, I mean, that's a different debate. And the unions aren't very happy with Keir Starmer. And also, he's not pro-union. If you went on a picket line, you were kicked out of the cabinet. And he did that to at least one member, who was then replaced by someone else. So the question of the unions is a difficult one, because the unions aren't just demanding pay increases, they're also demanding social issues and economic issues. So, for example, prioritizing cutting winter fuel allowance or two child benefit cap over, let's say, increased taxes on, say, capital gains or increased taxes on inheritance tax. These are all demands by the TUC, the Trade Union Congress, and Unite and major unions. And if you look at his funding is the least amount of any labor campaign of at least the last 3 decades by trade unions. So it's not like the trade unions see him as their guy, really. And so if you even look at what's happened with the recent story, and this, again, when we talk about the conference, you can't not talk about the donation scandal, which is everywhere, right? $4 million he got from the hedge fund manager. I mean, you don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to know that $4 million, which was the largest donation ever in the history, 100-year history of the Labour Party, ever given to the Labour Party, and it's by, big oil, big arms shareholder. That is a huge controversy and is deeply, deeply unpopular amongst the Labour base, who didn't think that this is what was going to happen. He caught £100,000 before he was even PM, more than the previous 5 PMs combined, on designer clothes, designer box seats, designer glasses. Why was that necessary? And let's be clear, these are bribes. They're not gifts. These people didn't become billionaires by giving people on £200,000 salaries gifts. They became billionaires because they said, this is an investment. We invest $100,000 now, and we get to keep 1% of the population that has 70% of the wealth in this country. That's a pretty good investment, and we want to keep it that way. And we're going to do that by giving this guy some trinkets. And he fell for it. Like, they're all falling for it. And what's really sad, I think, is you look at the fact that all these front benchers got tickets to, Taylor Swift concerts. They're all blaming their kids.
I know.
And then Starmer gets this place for his son, and he blames his son. At least have principle to stand up and say, I made a mistake. No, blame your children. It's just, frankly, I mean, it's cowardly, it's craven, but ultimately it's undignified. Just have some dignity. That's all I'm asking. The public wants you to have some dignity. Show some leadership, have some dignity, say you made a mistake, and say you won't do it again.
But again, Ashok, it's the optics of this. There are families in this country living in high-rise flats where 16-year-old children who were about to do their exams are sharing a bedroom with 3 other kids that are younger than them, who don't have the space, who don't have a computer, who barely have Wi-Fi, trying to sit their exams. And Keir Starmer, a Labour Prime Minister, chooses to put his son in a multi-million-pound apartment in Covent Garden so that he can... Now, I understand that he doesn't want the press all over that, but think about your constituents. Think about those people whose children can never do any revision because they're babysitting while their mum's at work, or for what, a million other reasons.
Exactly. Look, there is a sense of responsibility when you're in a position of power and authority. You are on £170,000 a year. Your wife is making enormous amounts of money. Why are you accepting these gifts?
Yeah.
And to see not only the optics of it, but the fact that you have to show some leadership. You've taken a number of positions, for example, on climate issues, on, you said you were going to put provisions around the arms trade, etc. And then you accept the largest donation of any Labour leader and the Labour Party in its entire history, which has investments, big investments in arms and climate. What does that look like? And then you don't even take a position. You don't stop arms to Israel. You don't, which your base is demanding. You don't stop new oil and gas. You actually retract the statement that Ed Miliband did the first week that you were in. How does it look? It looks like corruption. And the open democracy piece is very clear. It documents the fact that that donation was given the week that Sunak announces the election. It couldn't be clearer that that's rank corruption. It might not be illegal because we don't have laws against it. It's still corruption. Something doesn't have to be illegal for it to be clearly corrupt.
No, exactly that. Well, we learned that with the MP's expenses, didn't we? They were all going, oh no, we're stuck within the rules, but the rules were wrong. And so, when we're seeing this, and I've been saying this all week, there's no such thing as a free lunch. There never has been, and there never will be. There's always a payoff. And what have they sold? What have all of them sold of our democracy to get those free tickets? That's the answer that I want. And it drives me nuts that they think we're so stupid that we're just going to accept it.
So
awful.
The responses are so patronizing.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't think? Oh, the Tories did it. So what?
Yeah.
And then you were supposed to be something different. You're not. We know Boris did it. The fact is, at least Boris, and I know I'm not a big fan of Boris, was at least affable and able to respond to questions with ease. Right? He was a likable guy. Starmer, I'm sorry, he's not a likable guy. He's the sharpest fall of any leader in this country in its entire history, and it's because he's deeply unlikable. Now, if you know you're a deeply unlikable guy, you're not going to go like a pig at the trough, stuffing your face as soon as you have the opportunity. And that's what Lammy is doing. That's what they're all doing. And they're making the saddest excuses. I mean, the other thing that comes out of the conference is the fact that are deeply, deeply troubled by what's happening in Israel. And they rolled out the red carpet for the Israeli ambassador, Al-Tovi. They also when the protesters said the children of Gaza, and he turns around and goes, oh, this person must have gotten the ticket from 2019, making reference to Jeremy Corbyn. Yeah, and we're a change party. I'm sorry, Jeremy Corbyn, for all his faults, wasn't cool with the mass murder of children and wasn't just saying, okay, making excuses for Israel and arming them, and he stood against it. So, and that was a government, by the way, that Keir Starmer was a cabinet minister for.
And supported Corbyn.
And supported. So you can't say, okay, it's changed so much. You were in the cabinet minister and a chief saboteur for, by the way, and the documentation has come out. You sabotage the whole thing. So the fact that he did that, if you look online, even labor base, etc., that kid was 18 years old. He was so moved by what had happened. He wasn't in some political party, and he was 13 in 2019. Yeah. And saying, oh, he must have come from 18. What does that say to people? It's it's insulting, it's patronizing, and then laughing at his own joke. I think this whole... Well,
the power has gone to his head, hasn't it? I mean, it's this whole, you all voted for me. And I really would like somebody to remind him that it was only 33% of those who voted for him, and only 22% of the country that voted for him. I would love somebody to say, look, we didn't vote for you, you arrogant man.
He got fewer votes by percentage and absolute terms in 2019 and 2017. So you have fewer votes than the people that you're ridiculing than Corbyn did when he had the entire political infrastructure and his own party and the media against him. And say what you will about that, he got more votes than Starmer did. So Starmer coming in there, chest beaming like it's some big victory when he had fewer votes than Corbyn did in 2019. have some humility.
Well, yeah,
That's all we want.
There's definitely no sign. There's no sign of that. Just quickly, with the unions, which way is Starmer going to go? Is he going to get fully into bed with them, or is he going to be full on old school 70s, or is he going to be more Blair?
There's no indication that he supports many of the trade union demands. They're very antagonistic towards him. They're very hostile. The reason why he gave in to the demands of the trade unions is because the trade unions had successfully gone on strike, and they had demonstrated that. And he didn't, in his early years, want to have a series of strikes that sort of displaced his position of power. So he capitulated to some of their demands. His ideology is completely in the hands of sort of big business. Whenever he talks about growth, he's talking about depressing wages, getting more people in the labor market to optimize capitalist accumulation. So the idea that he's in the bed with the unions, I mean, in the middle of Rachel Reeves' speech, the nurses union came out and said, we reject the 5.5%. So that just tells you the unions aren't very happy with him. A few different crumbs in certain strategic places that could undermine the economy doesn't mean he's pro-union, and we're probably going to see a fresh wave of potential strikes.
Yeah, I would, if I had any money left after the budget, I'd put it on that. That definitely being the case. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much, Ashok Kumar, the Associate Professor of Political Economy at Birkbeck University, specialising in labour relations. It's got to be a really difficult job at the moment, hasn't it? Quick break, back in a sec.